I need net neutrality. I've been obsessed with it. And it's been apparent to me that for about 5 years that we have reached a plateau in the Internet, and the quality and the amount of bandwidth available to consumers is not going to increase. There are no technological arrangements being made in terms of hardware or anything by any of the telecoms to deliver faster service in the foreseeable future. It's not on the drawing board.
Let me just translate.
It's not being built,
let me just
for sure.
translate for a second, Jay. So basically what you're saying is that we're at the point where the existing pipes are carrying the capacity they can carry, and there is no large plan to basically put down new pipes, i.e. fiber, in any significant way.
Certainly not. And moreover, if you're paying attention, you see that the big telecoms, AT&T and Verizon, are making kind of sneaky moves to get out of wireline entirely and go completely mobile, and not even bother trying, because the twisted copper technologies they just cannot deliver anywhere near the bandwidth that the coax can. So they basically a number of years ago ceded wireline service to Comcast. But Comcast, as you pointed out, has virtually stated that they are going to become sort of a glorified cable service, where you'll have sort of an interactive cable TV experience rather than an internet going forward. I think that's what we're going to see. The only potential I see is for sort of a low-level kind of guerrilla use of the existing plant that's considered inferior, to sort of have a secondary kind of Wild West internet. But in terms of, innovation, as Tina pointed out, there's not going to be any innovation in telecommunications that's not officially sanctioned by large telecom and owned by large telecoms. So any technology that might make good use of the existing wireline or anything that somehow potentially undermines the telecom's ability to profit is not going to get off the starting post and things like that. So, yeah, I think what you're going to see is there'll be guys like you running your show, and it'll be catch as catch can, and then there'll be people who can afford to pay for a real high definition broadcast kind of service. So, but there's no plans for any of this to get better in the foreseeable future. You'd think, well, at some point they're going to roll out fiber. That's just not going to happen. Why would they do that? What's in it for them?
They have no incentive to do that now. No, not at all. None at all. And I don't know that they ever will have incentive, to do it. The bottom line is we're always going to need the internet. And we're always going to need, we might rather have a 10 meg upload and a 40 meg download. But the reality is we'll make do with our, 1 and 5 or whatever it is that we have.
You think, Sam?
What's that?
Well, you would think that there would be big players who would want to develop and make use of technology that requires more bandwidth to the consumer or to the business. And you would think that they would be out lobbying, saying, hey, these people, these companies, the telecoms, they operate entirely in the public right-of-way, poles and wires and what have you. They are here by the good graces of the American people. They have a responsibility to make the maximum use of that right-of-way. But this is not what's happening. You had Google that has made sort of tentative steps at making a gigatown, but you don't hear much about that. And then you see others like Netflix getting in bed with the telecoms and saying, we'll pay you, just make sure nobody else can stream videos instead of us.
Right.
And so you would hope that somehow a competitor would come along and say, no, to
well,
the
who's that
government.
competitor?
Well, I would have thought Google would want to not be controlled by the telecoms. I would have thought that they would go out and lobby like crazy, or in the old days, Microsoft and Amazon maybe. But
it's possible.
For some reason, they're all.
Well, isn't
well,
Google...
they did come out with, and I think more as a reaction to the big pushback that happened online. They did come out and send a letter about net neutrality, but it was certainly not. They certainly were not leading the charge, but they were sort of brought along. And, look, if there is a way, if it does happen that we see reclassification, it is going to, again, change the sort of the horizon for a company like Google, maybe. And they may react differently. They're all basically trying to figure out how this is going to go down, and positioning themselves in a way to be first out of the gate for however that outcome is. And so, it's not all she wrote. But, I mean, ultimately, look, we all know what needs to happen. We need to see government step in and basically say, you want a monopoly on this service, you got to upgrade, period. You've got to connect everybody that, in any geographic location where there is X number of people or X, percentage density, population density, you got to put fiber in, or you got to put fiber, up until one junction point, and then maybe you go, something different, the last mile or whatever it is. Something's got to give, but.
Well, we have something like that, Sam. What we have to do is, and which we can't do because of the Reagan Revolution, is have an interstate highway system project that would build a real network for the nation.
Right.
But you can't sell that now because, for one, AT&T, Verizon, they buy advertising in piles of it in every single newspaper, magazine, television station in the country. So the influence is there. Plus, they own whole committees in the Senate and the House. So it's not something you can push through anymore. But that would be the only thing that would make the United States competitive in communications technology, and that's just not going to happen.
Well, I hope you're wrong, Jay, but I appreciate the call.